Hey guys, how are you? Welcome into a Thursday morning, a Thanksgiving edition of the Daily Juice Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Perrault, here on BettingPros.com, always being brought to you by BetMGM, and we are obviously here, not in my home studio, we're obviously here in Boston or outside of Boston in my hometown of Ann Arbor, Mass. And this is where we're going to be for the next couple of podcasts. Okay, so we're going to go right into it here today. I've already given you guys 3 plays. The numbers have moved a little bit, so you get some better numbers than what we actually bet yesterday. If you guys haven't come in yet with the Bears, that number now it's gone below 3. A ton of money's come in here on the Lions, a lot of respected money coming in here on the Lions. The pros really are fading the Bears after what's gone on here with Matt Nagy, but I'm just going to take the better football team here. I don't like the Lions at all. They're 0-9-1, and I still like the Bears. Even at -2.5, you get a better number. I'm not stressed out about the line move. I'm not stressed out about the professional line movement on this and people thinking the Lions are going to win a game here or cover. I'll take the 3. I like 2.5 even better here for Chicago. So the first play I gave you yesterday, -2.5 on the Bears. Second number is the Raiders on the road at the Cowboys. That number was 8 for a moment. It's been 7.5. It's kind of been stuck there for a while. We same game parlayed this. We pulled this number down. Cowboys -1.5 took the total from 51, which is now 51.5. We put it up to 57 and took the under. I think this is a public line move here for the unders to come in. I don't actually think that the over is the right side here, given where we are defensively for the Raiders and just how many games have gone under for the Cowboys in a row. So I think the public is just expecting points here, but I'm not really sure we're going to see points, even though I know that the Cowboys offense could put up big points. And that's why people are, kind of hammering that. But I think that number for the Raiders kind of leads me to believe that maybe it's a lower scoring game than people think. So we're going same game parlay on that with the Raiders and the Cowboys. And then we're going with the Bills. That number now is 6.5. We laid 6. It's 6.5 with the Bills and the Saints coming up here today for Thursday for Thanksgiving. So as what often happens here, these podcasts when I'm on the road, when I'm on vacation, tend to be a little fast than normal, a little quicker than normal. So I kind of get right to it. I give you guys the plays and we kind of get out of here. So a little bit of a quicker pod than what we normally have, simply because it's the holidays, it's Thanksgiving. You guys, I don't want you spending time listening to the podcast. I want you being with your family and taking a second to be thankful for everything you got. Your health first and foremost, your family's health first and foremost as well. Hopefully everything is going well for you. Forget the wagers, forget the betting. Hopefully it hits for us and does well for us, but not that big of a deal. We have fun with this, right? The real important thing is the food, the fun, the family, and the entertainment and things you guys are going to have coming up here today, watching football and hanging out. So I'll be with my brothers and I'm making my drive up to New Hampshire to place my bets today. I've already loaded the account, which I learned you can load the account when you're in Mass. You just can't go and bet when you're in Massachusetts. So the account's already loaded and going to go on up there and make the plays. And then I'll do the BetMGM offer coming up in New Jersey, which hopefully will happen for Monday Night Football. We'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later on. But you guys always know that that offer $10 to win $150 on any event. Use that promo code JUICE150 at BetMGM and BetMGM.com. Promo code JUICE150 to jump in with that. We're always on YouTube, so if you guys want to see where I'm at, you can see the hotel room that I'm in. You guys can go ahead and take a look at that as to where we are here at the Courtyard Marriott in Andover, Massachusetts is where I'm located here taping this. So, okay, let's get to the picks for today. Let's start in college football. Let's start with the Egg Bowl here. Egg Bowl is really going to be interesting. I love Ole Miss. You guys know this, but it's interesting. Straight up, Ole Miss and Mississippi State over the last 20 games is 10-10, both teams. Ole Miss 9-10-1 against the spread. The total has gone over only 5 times in the last 15 meetings between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Big play on the under. If you want to jump in here on the under for this game, I'm not going to hate on it by any means. I think there could be some value jumping in here on the under for this. But for me, I look at Ole Miss, and I look at the fact that this team has had a tremendous run this season with Matt Corral. I know there's been some good bright spots from Mississippi State, but if you go through the history here, Ole Miss has lost 2 of the last 4 of these games, which is typical, right? 10-10. You would expect that. Ole Miss was 9.5-point favorites at home last year, and they won the game by 7. They did not cover. Ole Miss was catching 2.5 points against Mississippi State last year, and they wound up losing the game. They're laying 1.5, and they wound up losing the game by 1. So they're 1.5-point favorites, and they lost by 1 on the road. Last time we played in 2018 in Starkville, it was a 12.5-point number for Ole Miss. Mississippi State was heavily favored, and they won the game easily, going away 35-3. Game before that in 2017, back in Starkville, where this game is going to be played here today, it was a 31-28 victory for Ole Miss coming up against Mississippi State. They were 14-point favorites in that game. They did not cover in that game. They won, but they didn't cover. So I'm sorry, they were catching 14 points and they won outright. So they did cover in that game. So, when you look at the offenses here and look at where we've been between these two teams, it's pretty interesting. So let's just take a look at against the spread so far this season. Mississippi State this year 6-4 and 1 against the spread. Mississippi State is 7-4 against the spread. At home, 3-3 for the Bulldogs. Ole Miss, the Rebels, 2-2 on the road. So not a lot you can glean from that except the run that Mississippi State has been on against the number. Now, this is one reason why I think the number is +2 here and why it's been climbing from the opener of -1 to +2. Mississippi State has covered their last 5 games, and 6 of the last 7 they have covered. They have been very, very good. Blowout win last week. They beat Auburn as 6-point dogs. They lost by 3 to Arkansas as 4-point dogs. They won by 14 points, laying 1 to Kentucky. They won by 39 points against Vanderbilt, laying 21 points on the road. They got killed by Bama, but before that, they beat Texas A&M, which surprised a lot of people when they were on the road going into College Station and getting that big victory, winning it by 4 as 7-point road dogs. On the other side, Ole Miss did not cover last week against Vanderbilt. Didn't look great, but maybe a look-ahead spot to this game for them coming up here. A chance to win 10 football games for Ole Miss and maybe play in a New Year's Six bowl game. 10-point win over Texas A&M. They covered that 11-point line there. Both these teams beat A&M. Against Liberty, they won by 13, laying 7.5 at home. Against Auburn, they lost by 11, laying 3. They didn't cover that game, but they covered against LSU at home and Tennessee on the road, laying 1, and they won by 5. So I think a lot of people are just naturally saying bet the over 64, 65 for this game, but I think there's actually more value on the under here in this game if you want to play on a total here. But I just think if you get 2 or 2.5 points, heck, maybe you can get 3 points here. I'm going to take Matt Corral. I'm going to take this offense for Ole Miss to go in there, and I think it's still an open race for the Heisman. Matt Corral is still there. He's got to pick up first downs with his legs. Really, really important for them to be able to move the chains with his legs. But if he's able to do that, I just think that this offense, Lane Kiffin's going to go for it on 4th down. I just think that they've got the better quarterback and they got the better offense here between these two teams. You got an Ole Miss offense that's averaging 35 points per game. Mississippi State's only giving up 26 points per game. On the other side, the Bulldogs are scoring 29.5 points per game. Ole Miss defense hasn't been bad this year. 26.2 points per game given up for them. You got a 4.9 yards per rush for Mississippi, but the key there is they've got to get Matt Corral involved in the running attack. Passing attack, we know what it is. They're averaging over 285 yards per game through the air. Mississippi State gives up some passing yards, 235 yards per game given up. That's outside the top 70 in the country. And on the other side, Mississippi State, they like to throw the ball a lot. In fact, they throw the ball with the air raid offense and Mike Leach the most of anybody in football, in college football, 54.6 passes per game. That's really high. In fact, that's nearly double what Mississippi normally gives up, 32.2 yards per game. You can run on these guys, but you can kind of pass on them. It's okay. 235 yards per game given up. The pass rush for Mississippi is pretty good. They get after the quarterback. And, well, frankly, this is a team that, if you are going to turn the football over, Mississippi State is a team that may be able to do that. Ole Miss, 1.8 takeaways per game. That's top 20 in the country. On the other side, giveaways per game. Mississippi, 1.3 giveaways per game. That's not great for them. And so this game could be hinging on a turnover or 2 here. I got a road dog catching 2.5 points. Shop around, grab 2.5. They're out there. Take it. Ole Miss plus 2.5 for a half a unit here in the Egg Bowl. Half a unit, Ole Miss on the road, catching 2.5. I don't mind a money line sprinkle here at all. I think Ole Miss wins the game outright, but I'll take the 2.5 points here. 2.5 plus 2.5. Ole Miss up against Mississippi State for a half a unit. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some 2 NFL player props to jump in here, and let's start with what's happening for the New Orleans Saints. So this is from our guy, one Mr. Dan Harris, who made a pretty interesting point. Sent me some text messages saying, hey, I know you're looking for props. We're not going to talk, but here's a prop that I would play, and I think there's some real good value on this. You can get this at DraftKings at plus 400 or maybe even as high as plus 500. I'm going to play this here for a quarter unit. So exactly how are the Saints going to score? Okay, so Alvin Kamara is probably out. They gave this out on the Betting Pros pod earlier, and you have a team that's had a tough time scoring in the red zone and a tough time scoring, period. Taysom Hill most likely is going to be the goal line offense for the Saints here today against the Bills. And frankly, you can run on the Bills. We know you can run on the Bills. You can run on the Bills in the red zone. How are you going to do that when you've got backup? Mark Ingram could be a vulture here, but Taysom Hill very well might be an anytime touchdown scorer. And at plus 400, you put a quarter unit down and you can literally quadruple that bet. I think it's a hell of a bet. I think that's a really nice play. It's great value. I'm going to give that for sure here. I like Dan Harris on this. I'm going to trail him. We're going to go Taysom Hill, anytime touchdown scorer today for a quarter unit. Plus 400 is where I'm going to get it at DraftKings. You guys may get it at plus 500 other places. Let's go plus 400, Taysom Hill, anytime touchdown scorer for a quarter unit for the Bills and the Saints. And for the last quarter unit, because we don't leave quarter unit hanging, we're going to come in and we're going to look at the passing numbers for one Mr. Derek Carr. DraftKings has him right now at 262. BetMGM has him at 261 yards per for an over-under for passing yards. The projection on the prop bet cheat sheet is 292 yards, and that's over 31 yards of value you're getting here with Derek Carr passing the football. And you might go, well, who are they going to throw the football to? Okay, I get that. They're going to have to work in some other players potentially here, Edwards and Waller and whatnot. But I'm betting this because I think there's a good chance that the Raiders could be down big in this game. I think that they could be, the running game might be out the window. I don't know if they're going to be able to slow down the Cowboys here. I think this is a wide open game. Again, we teased this to 57 and bet the under, but it could be like a 30-10 type of game here, and Derek Carr's having to pass the football like crazy. I think over 261 yards is a good bet here. Derek Carr over 261 yards for a quarter unit is the last bet of the day here for us. Two prop bets going for us here for the Daily Juice podcast. Okay, so to recap the entire card, we're taking the Bills -3, although you get 2.5 now. Same game parlay, Cowboys down to -1.5, teasing it up to 57, now 57.5, and taking the under in that for a one unit play on the Bills. So one unit play on the on the Bears and -3 against the Lions. And then we are taking the Bills -6, now 6.5. I would not go any higher than I like 6, really. I'm serious. I don't like 6.5. I like 6. So if it's 6.5, you can buy a half a point, buy the half a point. I like 6 because if it goes to overtime, you guys we're guaranteed at least a push if they wind up losing to the Saints here. Bills -6. It's an important number to me with this for one unit. And then we're taking Ole Miss plus 2.5 in the Egg Bowl. We're going Taysom Hill, anytime touchdown score for plus 400, and we're taking over Derek Carr, passing numbers of 261 yards for Derek Carr for a quarter unit for us here for one more unit in play. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your food. Have a great time. We'll have a lot more coming up as we continue here during this Thanksgiving Day week. My name is Matt Perrault. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsTalkMatt. Each and every morning, it's the Daily Juice Podcast, always being brought to you by BetMGM.